Hey friends, it's Laurie. Today I'm making a Let It Snow snowflake wreath using Dollar Tree supplies. So let's get busy. Getting started and making this my base, I'm using one of the 14-inch wire wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. To attach my fabric to the form, I'm using 24 of these silver chenille stems, and these came from the Dollar Tree as well. You can use any color, but silver or white would work best for this project. I'm centering 2 chenille stems on the 2 outside wires. After I have it around the 2 wires, I make sure that the 2 ends match up evenly, and then I give it 3 or 4 twists. As I'm adding them on, I'm trying to space them as evenly as possible on the section. If they're a little off, not to worry, because when you add the fabric, you won't notice. I continued working my way around, centering 2 chenille stems onto each section. Now that I'm done, because they're a little slippery and to help hold them in place, I like to give each of them a couple of dots of hot glue. To help protect my work surface, I did place a couple of sheets of the Dollar Tree waxed paper underneath the form. This way it catches those little drips of hot glue. Now that I'm done, to make it easier to attach the inside stems, I'm just folding the outside ones down flat. To add my second layer of chenille stems, I'm adding one around the 2 inside wire support, once again matching up the 2 ends and then giving them 2 to 3 twists. The next chenille stem I'll be centering in between the 2 outer and matching up the 2 ends and then giving those 2 to 3 twists as well. I'm following this pattern as I'm working my way around the inside wires. When I'm done, I'll have all 24 chenille stems in place and ready to hold the fabric. Now that I'm done, once again, I'm going to use my hot glue and add a couple of dots to each chenille stem to help hold them in place. Now that I'm done, and it does look a bit like a crazy mess, I am going to fold the inside stems to the center and then stand the outside ones up straight. Today I'm participating in the Christmas Wreath-a-thon, and it's being hosted by my sweet friend Nadia from DIY with Nadia. She has an amazing channel, and you can check her out along with my other crafty friends by clicking on the playlist. I'll have that linked below in my description. If you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that little red subscribe button below, leaving me a thumbs up, and to all my returning friends, you know I'm always so happy to see you. To add the fabric on my wreath, I'm using 3 of the white table runners from the Dollar Tree. The fabric is textured and both ends have a point. To attach the fabric, I'm gathering one of the pointed ends about 3 inches or so, and I'm tucking it under one of the outside wire supports. I'm then placing it between the 2 chenille stems and attaching it in place. I'm now tucking the 2 sides of the fabric under each other and measuring out 5 inches. I gather it together, making a little poof, and then attach it to the next set of chenille stems. Once I have it in place, I'm then kind of puffing up the fabric. From there, I continue following the same instructions, making sure that the 2 sides of the fabric are tucked under. measuring out 5 inches of fabric and attaching it in place. And then I give it a little fluffing after I'm done. As I'm working my way around the form, I'm always making sure that the two sides of the fabric are tucked under. I've made some other Dollar Tree table runner wreaths that I'll have linked below. You can come back and check them out after you watch the playlist. When I come to the end of my fabric, I then tuck the little extra end under the form. Now to attach the next runner, I'm once again gathering about 3 inches of the pointed fabric. I attach it to the last set of chenille stems where I made a poof and then tuck the end under the middle support. When I complete the circle, I attach my last poof to the first set of chenille stems. I now have the outside of the wreath complete and I'm moving on into the center. I once again measure out 5 inches of fabric and now attach it to the next set of chenille stems in the center. And now I'm continuing to measure out my 5 inches of fabric, making sure that the two sides of the fabric are always on the bottom, and then just working my way around the inside of the form. I made the poofs for my wreath at 5 inches, but if you want your wreath to be a little bit wider, you can always make them 6 or even 7 inches. When I come to the end of this fabric, I just follow the same instructions as adding on the last runner. Tucking under the end, attaching it to the chenille stem, and working your way around until the wreath is complete. When I was done, I then cut off the extra fabric and tucked the tail end under between the two wire supports. Now that I'm done, and to hide the chenille stems, I'm folding them over and twisting them together on the bottom. And once I had them twisted, I then folded them over flat. After I had all the chenille stems tucked under, I then went around and just kind of fluffed up my fabric poofs. I'm making 8 ruffles for my wreath, and I'm using 2 rolls of mesh from the Dollar Tree, one white and this one pretty grayish blue. I'm making my mesh strips 12 inches, and to make them easier to cut, I cut out a 12-inch piece of cardstock. I'm starting with my bluish gray mesh, and I'm wrapping it around the cardstock to get my 8 pieces. When I'm done, I then use my scissors to cut both ends. I'm making 2 white ruffles per bunch, so I'm cutting 16 pieces of white mesh. With my mesh cut, and to attach the ruffles together, I'm using 4 of the silver chenille stems, and I'm cutting them in half. Along with the cut chenille stems, you'll need 3 clips, and I'm just using these. They came from the Dollar Tree. Making the ruffles is super easy. I'm first using my scissors to hold down one end of the mesh. I'm then rolling 3 small curls and attaching them in the center with my clip. I'm now working on the other end, and I'm rolling 4 small curls, and then I'm just kind of walking it up to meet the other curls and the clip and clipping them both together. I'm now following the same instructions and making my second white ruffle. When I rolled the ends of my mesh, sometimes I rolled 3 and sometimes I rolled 4. And when we put the ruffles all together, it really won't make a difference. With my 2 white ruffles complete, I'm then using the bluish gray, and once again, I'm just following the same instructions. Now that they're all complete, I'm going to attach them together. I'm first adding a white ruffle to my hand, then the bluish gray, and then another white ruffle. I'm taking the half piece of chenille stem, wrapping it around the center, and then pulling it together and twisting it tightly. With that bunch complete, I went ahead and made 7 more. To attach my ruffles, I'm placing 2 of the chenille stems around the 2 center wires on the form. I'm then turning the wreath over and twisting them together tightly. I'm now adding my second ruffle bunch directly across from my first. I'm now adding the third halfway between my first and second. And now I'm adding my fourth directly across from my third. With those in place, I'm now adding on my next 4 bunches. I'm centering each one between the 4 ruffles that I've already placed on the wreath. And as I add them, I'm making sure that once again, they're directly across from each other. I'm adding 3 2.5-inch ribbons to my wreath. I'm using this pretty silver open work ribbon from the Dollar Tree, a sheer with silver ribbon, and a blue and white snowflake, and these 2 I had on hand. All my ribbons will be 10 inches, and to make them easier to cut, I just cut a 10-inch piece out of cardstock. Then, like I did with the mesh, I just wrapped the ribbon around and cut both ends. I'm adding 8 ribbon bunches, so I'm cutting 8 out of each color. When that ribbon was complete, I then followed up with my other 2. Now that they're cut, I'm going to dovetail the ends, which is super easy. All you do is fold the ribbon in half and then cut away both ends at an angle. I followed the exact same instructions for all 24 of my ribbons. Now that I have them all cut, I'm going to attach them together, and once again, I just cut 4 of the chenille stems in half. I'm making my first 4 ribbon bunches by placing the blue and white snowflake on the bottom, the silver in the center, and then the sheer white ribbon. I'm matching up the ends, folding the ribbon in half to find my center. I give it a little bit of a pinch, and then using one of the chenille stems, I place it over the center and then twist it tightly. I'm making 3 more bunches just like this, and for my next 4, I'm placing the white sheer on the bottom, the silver in the center, and the blue and white snowflakes on the top. I'm once again making sure the ends are even, folding them in half to find the center and giving them a little pinch, and then attaching them together with the half chenille stem. Now that they're all complete, it's time to add them to the wreath. I'm starting with my blue and white snowflake ribbon on top, and I'm placing it between the 2 mesh ruffles. I'm wrapping the chenille stems around the 2 center wires and then twisting them together tightly. I'm now moving directly across and adding my matching ribbons. I'm centering my third bunch between two mesh curls and between my first two ribbon bunches. And then I'm attaching my last directly across from the third. I'm adding my last 4 ribbon bunches by evenly spacing them around the wreath. And once again, I'm making sure that one ribbon cluster is directly across from the other. Now that all my ribbons are in place, I'm just moving around the wreath and fluffing them up. For the snowflake accents on my wreath, I'm using 4 of the white and 4 of the blue and silver sparkly snowflakes, and I picked these up at the Dollar Tree. When you remove the hanger, you'll see there's a little extra end where it was attached. I just used my scissors and clipped it off. I ended up doing this for all 8 of my snowflakes. I'm first adding my snowflakes to the wreath to find their placement. I'm adding the blue and silver snowflake onto the white sheer ribbon, and I'm adding the white snowflake onto the blue and white snowflake ribbon. I always like to do this before I permanently attach them, just in case they're not exactly where I want them. It's easier to move them around. After all 8 are in place, I then used my glue gun to attach them. I'm making sure to use plenty of hot glue so that they don't move once they're hanging up. If you wanted to make this a Christmas wreath, all you need to do is add some poinsettias in place of the blue snowflakes. Add on some green and red mesh and some Christmas ribbons. And I think I might make one of those after I'm done. I wanted to break up a bit of the blue and white, so I'm using 2 bunches of this frosted greenery, and I did pick this up at the Dollar Tree. There are some longer stems and some shorter ones, so while I was removing them, I did keep them separate because I'm going to add the longer ones first. I have 8 longer pieces of the greenery, and I'm going to be adding one of these in between each of the mesh ruffles. I continued working my way around the wreath, adding on each piece of greenery. Now that I have them all in place, I'm using my hot glue gun to attach them. Now that I'm done, I'm placing on the shorter pieces, and I'm placing one behind each of the snowflakes. I think the wreath looks really pretty with just the blue and the white, but I wanted to kind of break it up a bit, so that's why I'm adding in the greenery, but this step is completely optional. And just like the larger pieces, once I had them all in place, I used my hot glue gun to attach them. After adding on all the greenery, I had about 4 pieces left over, so I just randomly added those here and there. To add the Let It Snow in the center of my wreath, I found this cute sign at the Dollar Tree. The lettering is raised, so I used my knife and very gently removed it from the sign. I centered it on the middle of the wreath, and then using my glue gun, I attached it in place. Now that I'm done, this pretty Let It Snow snowflake wreath is ready to hang. Here we are at the end of the video, and I really hope you enjoyed making this Let It Snow snowflake wreath with me. Please be sure to check out the playlist, and if you're thinking, hey, I'd like to come back and hang out with her again, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below. And if you're looking for some more Christmas inspiration and wreaths, come on back and check those out. I'll have them linked below in my description. I hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.